Just think, they've got an actor for a president, economic advisors called projectionists. Even their latest defense strategy is named after a film, Star Wars.
Greetings, everyone. We're back with another session today on the 20th of May, and I'm joined here with Michael on Skype, and it is a pleasure to be back with you, Michael, and we're going to talk today about some research that you have done on, well, let's see, I think it's mostly a surprise, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, dear Brett, yeah, to me, of course, it's no surprise. I'm surprised that I'm still researching that topic because it will be quite soon the kind of anniversary of the things that we are going into. And I thought for years if I should present this, because there is nothing to gain but knowledge for people who really want to delve into this. But I did that research on this topic, I do not know, for many years. At least on this computer here for at least 2 or 3 years. It's extremely delicate, it's extremely difficult to sort things out, because it's a successor to the last session we did on China. And what China has to do with media and with Satan and all the stuff, you will soon find out. But maybe you remember the last session on China where we spoke about symbolisms and the history and science and church involvements and all the like.
Speaking of which, you know, this reminds me of the Jesuits already and their work in the role of reversing the Reformation, of course, and bringing back everyone into the Catholic fold universally. That means throughout the world, and how successful they've been. And specifically speaking of, let's say, Pope Francis taking the name after Francis Xavier, who started out as a missionary to China, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're just continuing in that realm, aren't we, in this study?
Yes, and it's so fitting because many people, they are relaying to China in the last years, at least since 2019, no? Since
Yes.
19, yeah, since that Wuhan laboratorium, or since social justice and surveillance and controlled media and so forth. And I think that the majority of people who will listen to that program here, they do not favor China as their desired country to live in. Because everything is so censored and everything is restricted.
Well, you know, I've always said that it seems like, you know, with YouTube and other aspects of things in the United States, things are actually turning into communist China here, too. Maybe in Europe as well. I don't know.
Yeah, and speaking about communism, we know that it has been invented by the Roman Catholic Church on behalf of the Jesuits. Yeah, so it is no wonder that this country is so restricted, because communism isn't exactly that what you in America would think of free speech.
And that's right.
Yeah, so it is very restricted country. So it's also very difficult to find any information. So that means that we can't get any substantial recent information, actual information which is relevant, which is happening here and now in China. But we can take a look in the history, which we did last time, and we can look upon certain examples, what happened there, and then we can draw our conclusions, what is happening there, and how they proceed the last centuries, or how they proceed at least the last decades. And so you can find out that anybody who can have a grasp on that matter here, you can find out where the future will be in socialism, communism, and all the stuff. I have picked out an extremely prominent example, because in China, you know, there are more than 1 billion people. And I decided to go into that subject with many concerns, because when I go into a Chinese, more or less, idol, then I will have millions of fans against me, because they will not have the same perspective that I have. And of course, I will have all the people against me of the things which I am about to let you know, about to reveal, because they do not want me to. So that I made a lame joke a few years ago, and I said, okay, this script can get me killed. We, Brett and me, already has been labeled as heretics. So what's the difference now that we go into another subject? So that means that we have now millions of fans against us who will say that, oh yeah, we are the loonies, we do not understand anything. Maybe the most prominent Chinese character of all times. And you might guess who it is. And many people will say, oh yeah, I know what's coming up, I know what's coming up. It's maybe the most commonly known actor in the United States, which is, maybe, I do not know, Brett, Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't. I do not know if it is a disappointment or it will constantly shake your head. I do not know. But the subject which we are talking about in a biblical way is him. That, of course, is not Jackie Chan. And of course, it's not Jet Li. But we will speak about Jet Li and we will speak about Jackie Chan. But this is, of course, Brce Lee. Brce Lee happened to be born in 1940 in the United States of America and died in 1973 in Hong Kong. So you got already a combination about United States of America and China in this guy here. So he was not a pure Chinese civilian. He was a Sinoamerican, which means he was half Chinese and half Eurasian. Yeah. So in the later sessions we will find out who's who and what's what. But now this is just the introduction of the things to come. So we will speak mainly about Hong Kong under British occupation until 1997. At the example of this character here, we will show you what has most likely happened, why it happened, what about the mindset of that actor and the mindset of these Chinese hierarchical structures. And so that is my approach to this. Yeah, so this is a picture from 1973. And as he died on the 20th of July in 1973, so the 50th anniversary of his death is in July this year. So that is close to the time when we will publish this session. And from this on, research on the one hand will start, and explanations for the Chinese history and Hong Kong involvement and all the stuff that will similarly happen, so that I hope that we can provide really interesting information that you usually don't expect when somebody makes a documentary about this guy. So first of all, to answer the question, what led to the rise and demise of that star, because I think that most likely every household knows at least the name of Bruce Lee, although that was not his entire name. So what led to the downfall of it and to the rise of it? It is very interesting, and in his case it is extremely simple. Let me tell you that you will see soon that I bought several books of it, and I have studied thousands of pages. I have studied for years on that subject. I have written a script of almost 3,000 pages upon, so I can go into several kind of objects. And I have spoken to people who were personally befriended with Bruce Lee. So I am not that guy who is just doing here lousy internet research, but I'm looking things up for years, and I have also been a fan, if I would speak of that, because I have seen his movies when I was about 14, 15, 16. I also went to a karate school in those days. I wasn't delighted in what I saw. I did take Wing Chun lessons later on. I had a personal trainer on that, so I have a decent background of the things that I'm talking about. Yeah, so all the things, speaking of internet research, speaking of my training, speaking of people whom I've talked to who have personally been in touch with Mr. Lee, and all these historical backgrounds which I am trying to provide on several YouTube channels for years, I think that I can show you some aspects that usually you do not see in these documentaries. Also, I have access to several things and books which are not generally known, but also in fan circles and all the stuff. So, to make a long story short, the issue of that character is the general issue which is in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was occupied from the British Empire, so-called Great Britain, until 1997, with a short intermediate with the Japanese intruders in the 1940s. Nowadays, this Hong Kong is SAR, is a special administrative region of China. So they had been administered by China, and there are many, many protests going on, speaking about that Hong Kong is now kind of a communist China with a little bit more of capitalism on the surface. But that is just very typical also for Bruce Lee. He was raised in Hong Kong. So he was just born in San Francisco, but a few months later he sailed on a ship to Hong Kong, and he was raised in Hong Kong. Speaking of the fact that in Hong Kong money is everything. That's why I've chosen that picture of a very, very expensive Italian suit here, and not that usual picture of a shirtless Bruce Lee. And so that is just in short that in case if you are not interested in the entire subject of Bruce Lee, Hong Kong, China, history and all the alike, you have just a short summary as a kind of a teaser in the first session about that subject here. Okay, so my conclusion is just simply that he wanted to strive for just worldly fame and money, and that does not take anything away from his sport, actor, what else, fighting abilities. It's a very delicate subject to go into. You can have endless discussion with people about it. He was mainly an actor, but he invented a special art of fighting called Jeet Kune Do, and Also, he had extreme abilities. People say that, oh, he wasn't a fighter, he does not have any fight record. But if you have close ties with people who actually know Bruce Lee and were eyewitness to several ongoing fights, you know that he was not just simply an actor. There is much more to it. Yeah, so many things have been reported absolutely incorrectly about Mr. Lee. But the problem, which is very simple, he was into becoming famous. He wanted to become a star. And so that is the first major thing which we will solve with the help of the Bible, of course. So I found that picture today, actually. Yeah, that's of course a fantasy note with a picture of Bruce Lee on it, also with a suit on it. Yeah, with a picture of $1 million. The father of mixed martial arts, which is also untrue. But yeah, that's it. And also that is his death date here. BL Bruce Lee 0720. So the 20th of July 1973, a Friday, by the way. And so to solve the things which really was Mr. Lee having on his mind as a Hong Kong citizen, you only have to read his definite chief aim. And I have read that to Brett some days ago, and I can read it again. My definite chief aim, Bruce Lee, signed in January 1969. I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting 1970, I will achieve world fame, and from that onward till the end of 1980, I will have in my possession 10 million US dollars. 10 million US dollars. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness.
Bruce Lee, 1969. Was
Yes.
it January? Yeah.
Yeah. If you are in the mindset of this world, you will find that quite logical, comprehensive, or understandable. What else? Somebody wants to be a star, somebody wants to have big money for luxury cars, a big home, swimming pool, what else? So what that means is actually, when you see it from just a worldly perspective, that means that everything is centered around his ego. Yeah. Please keep in mind that Mr. Lee had been married for several years and had also a son called Brandon. And his wife was pregnant at that time with a second child, the daughter Shannon. She was pregnant. His wife, Linda Lee, or Linda Emery Lee, was pregnant with Shannon Lee, born in, I think it was in April 1969. So, no word about his wife, no mentioning of his son, no mentioning of his family. And so that was striking me in the eye, Brett, that we talked about that before, that I said, look at that definite chief aim, I will. And that reminded me of the I will of Lucifer, that's the former name of Satan, in the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. So this is Isaiah 14, 12 to 15, 5 times I will. Yeah, that is also the reason of that satanic pentagram. That these are the 5 wishes of Lucifer. Lucifer meaning the light bearer. And at Bruce Lee's definite chief aim, you will see, I will be the first highest paid. I will give the most exciting performance. I will achieve world fame. I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way. Yeah, it's 5 times I will. Which other Bruce Lee documentary shows you this similarity between the definite chief aim of Bruce Lee and Isaiah 14:12? Would you like to read it, Brett?
Yeah, sure. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend unto heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
So 5 times I will. So let me have a here.
Yeah, and you're right. No mentioning of family, only mammon.
Yes. Yeah, so this is the famous Venus pentagram. These are the 5 stationary points of the planet Venus around the Earth. And you can, of course, discuss, if you have never seen any session of us speaking about science being a religion, and that all planets are being called, except the Earth and Uranus, according to Roman gods. And it is heliosorcery. It is sorcery of the god called Helios. Then you might think that the Earth is moving 1,000 miles per hour, spinning, having an axis tilt of 23.4 degrees and all the stuff. Sorry, these are all lies. It's the same as the moon landing. All the media have been controlled since 200 years now. These are secret treaties from 1824 and all the alike. I can't go into every nitty-gritty here, but you have to really to face the fact that you have been bombarded with a bunch of lies, be it with Albert Einstein, be it with the solar system, be it with Galileo. All these people were being controlled by the church. So I'm sorry, but this is the famous pentagram. And also that pentagram is not only the 5 stationary circles of the Venus here, which are then creating a pentagram, which means a 5-pointed star with 72 degrees in each aspect here. Yeah, 5 times 72 creates 360 degrees, a circle. This pentagram is the same pentagram as used in Satanism. Yeah. So Satanism, therefore, is also a kind of egoism, because one of the most prominent Satanists of all time, of course, is Aleister Crowley. He's a British agent, actually, speaking of Britain. Yeah, Aleister Crowley, who says every woman and every man is a star. Maybe we have a nice picture here. Every woman and every man, or the other way around, is a star. Sure. And that's what Mr. Lee wanted to achieve. He wanted to have world fame. Yeah, he wanted to have world fame. I will achieve world fame, and from then I will have in my possession 10 million bucks. Yeah, so egoism is Satanism. Christianity, on the other hand, means love thy neighbor as yourself. But the definite chief aim of Brce Lee does not speak about being happy with a family, or helping to raise his children, or giving into charity, or helping his parents, or donating something to Yip Man, his former teacher in Wing Chun. It only speaks of him, my chief aim. I will be the first highest paid superstar. Yeah? So also biblically, in terms of prophecy in the book of Revelation, usually publicly known as the Apocalypse, it speaks that stars are angels. Yeah? So every man and every woman is a star. And Lucifer, being a fallen angel, Lucifer, being a high decorated cherub, a high servant of the Almighty Lord, but he disobeyed. He did not want to serve Jesus Christ as the only begotten Son of God, and therefore he made a revolution in heaven. The spirits, actually, there were put down to earth.
Yes.
That's Revelation chapter 12,
yes.
which Brett will read now for you.
Yes. Revelation 12, 7 through 9, which reads, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him."
And now you can put in perspective also verse 4.
Yes, and his tail drew the third part of the stars from heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Yes. So, when his tail drew the third part of stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth is quite similar to the dragon who was cast out into the earth and his angels were cast out with him. So we usually depict stars as angels. And you see what happened when you revolt against an almighty God. Of course, the almighty God is almighty. How stupid must it be to make a revolution against an almighty being? But, and it's a big but, when Satanism says that do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, it means that you don't have to follow any commands, don't have to follow any rules, and don't have to follow an almighty God. But yourself are God. You are egoistic, and that means you are a Luciferian. And that's what happened to Mr. Lee. He just wanted to have it all. He wanted to be the biggest star, superstar in the United States. So that was his chief aim. Nobody has ever convinced me that his chief aim was to raise his beloved children. And I don't say that he was a bad parent or what else. No, I'm absolutely not. The thing is, though, that his chief aim is to become a superstar, and he sacrificed everything to achieve the goal, including his health. So, the similarity between his definite chief aim and Lucifer in the Isaiah 14:12 is so apparent that everybody who is into the Bible must see that similarity, I think, Brett, huh?
Well, yeah, those that are paying attention, Michael. I think it might be pretty easy to pass over that if you're not familiar with Isaiah 14 the way we are.
You see, I have presented in the first picture here, or almost first picture here, Brce Lee as in the $1 bill. But actually the $1 bill, because he definitely speaks about dollars, yeah, dollar bill. Yeah, the dollar bill is full of occult symbolism. There's a one-eye pyramid, yeah, there is an owl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is just only the backside. Yeah, in God we trust. Which kind of God it is, we will soon learn. Yeah, oh, this is now popping up in Dutch. Okay, great. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I really mean. Yeah, you see that even the dollar symbol is a dollar symbol. Nobody asks why the dollar symbol is that kind of symbol. Yeah, when it is not a D or what else. Yeah, so that is just a symbol of the serpent and 2 columns, which means a temper. So everything which has to do with materialism and money belongs to Satan. And we can prove that with the Bible, once again. With the Bible.
It also can mean SL, slavery.
Yeah.
You know, we're enslaved to mammon, aren't we?
Yeah.
If we want to be.
So,
do as thou wilt, yeah.
Yeah, these are the 5 I wills. I will, I will, I will, I will, I will. I can think of many people who have just put an eye on that session here, which are totally new to one of our channels, and who think that everybody here is a lunatic, but it's just your opinion. Opinion is not truth. Because in the Christian world, the God has nothing to do whatsoever with money. Yeah, money has been depicted here with mammon, and that's Matthew 6:24.
Which reads, "No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon."
Mm. So, what is mammon, you might ask? So, mammon comes from Aramaic. We will switch to English soon. Commonly to thought mean money, material wealth, or any entity that promises wealth and is associated with the greedy pursuit of gain. The Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke both quote Jesus using the word in a phrase often rendered in English as, "You cannot serve both God and mammon." The word mammon comes into English from post-classical Latin mammona, wealth, and is used most importantly in the Vulgate Bible. From late Latin mammona, from ecclesiastical Greek mammonas, from Aramaic mammona, mammon, riches, gain, a word left untranslated in Greek New Testament, and regarded mistakenly by medieval Christians as the name of a demon who leads men into covenanters. This is, of course, absolutely BS. It has nothing to do with it. Mammon is the name of an Aramaic deity. An avarice-deified mammon. Deified mammon, yes. You worship money. You worship wealth.
Wealth personified, yes.
Yes. That means that
there's that persona again, huh?
Yeah, also that means that you worship people who have made it in the world. Yeah, so that you
Right.
you worship people that have made it in the world that you look up to, like Donald Trump or who else, Elon Musk or what else to say. Yeah, who else?
Bill
to mention?
Gates, for God's sakes.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say if you worship Bill Gates, you got problems, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, Brce Lee in one of his later interviews said, frankly, I do not believe. If he was asked if he believe in any God, he says, frankly, I do not believe. So he did not believe in any God. Yeah, so he only wanted to have world fame and $10 million until 1980. So that's why I thought about that picture here, Brett.
Yeah, I wonder if he was friends with, forget her name now. The one that sang the song, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?" Yeah, Janis Joplin, right there.
Yeah, birds of a feather flock together, Brett.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that also reminded me because that song is from 1971.
Isn't that hilarious? It's right in the script.
Yes, sure. We're in the same spirit, Brett, and
yeah.
and that song is
Well, people might not believe that are just listening, going, "Oh, who are these cats anyway?"
Yeah.
Well, look, Michael and I have been through some different experiences, all right, but it's just mind-boggling how the Spirit brings us together, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah, it really works that way,
So it's strange because that song is coming from Janis Joplin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Janis Joplin did not drive a Mercedes-Benz but an old Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, that is very strange. You will find so many strange artifacts in that series here. I do not dare to estimate how many sessions we will go into, but that song was officially the last recording that Janis Joplin did before she died due to a drug abuse.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
She was recording that song officially on the 1st of October 1970.
Oh, that's really close to the same time that he did his famous statement with the 5 I wills, isn't it?
Yeah, that was 1 year later almost, or
Yeah.
1.5 years later. But the Mercedes-Benz that he got in
Yeah.
Hong Kong,
Mm.
I was driving around in Hong Kong. It was just a car had been given to by his producer, Raymond Chow. And the thing is that that car did its first appearance in The Way of the Dragon in 1972 in Italy. Yeah, so 1970, end of 1970 to 1972. So that song was very close to that area. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? But yeah, you see, there are so many things which will pop up soon. Yeah. Brett has read the book of Revelation, yeah, and the Satan has been depicted as the great dragon, yeah, and Bruce Lee's nickname was Little Dragon. So you can expect so many symbolism in the future. It's mind-boggling actually. Yeah, and we will go into the symbolism of the V sign here also. This is a devil's horn and 666 sign and all that stuff. But you see that we are speaking about somebody who is into superstition belief. His family was into superstition belief, and also he was just not having any belief in any god. So that
Right. So it's mysticism.
It's mysticism, yes. Yeah, later we will see it's Taoism and why and how that developed. But this is just a teaser here, yeah? So don't get me wrong. So,
Yeah,
oh
that's
Lord,
right.
won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? And now put that in perspective, please. We will copy-paste that with the verse of Matthew 6:24. Yeah?
Yeah, that's right. No man can serve two masters, for either he'll hate the one and love the other, or else he will
Yeah. So
hold to the one and despise the other. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so which Lord is it who buys somebody a Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, it's definitely not the Savior
Not the God of
who
the Bible,
saves
but
us from this world, but the one who wants us to get drunk on this world. You know,
yeah, and that's a problem with
to spiritually fornicate, Michael.
That's the problem with this word, and also a very, very interesting thing about Hong Kong, because in Hong Kong it's all about money. Yeah, Hong Kong is a very dense place with many people around, millions of people around actually, on a very, very close, in a very, very dense area of this world. And it's a harbor, of course, so there's many business going on. Yeah, so it's very interesting when you go around that kind of symbolism of a suit and a well-tailored suit, and then also a status symbol like a Mercedes-Benz. You see that Mercedes-Benz is a Mercedes-Benz type R107. Yeah, or in other words, 1R07. Yeah, so that's a Mercedes 350 SL, super light. Yeah, so that's a sports car, more or less. He also had a Porsche before that, also when he was in the United States before. But just to show you, this car, and I just wanted to do a trailer. Yeah, that car has been produced since 1971, so that was a brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could also be at least 1 and something year old at that time when that picture was been taken. Yeah. And already there are scratches here in the back. And Bruce Lee was a horrible driver. Many people say that. You can ask Steve McQueen and Chuck Norris. Nobody wanted to drive with Bruce. Yeah. So, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? That's once again, it's a status symbol for somebody who has made it in Hong Kong. It's of course a status symbol because Janet Joplin is mentioning it together with "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?" She does not speak about, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Fiat car or
won't
Chevrolet?"
you buy me a ticket to, you know,
To the bus station. Yeah.
get out of this place and save me from this world, you know. Yeah, won't you free me from my sin, you know?
No, it's just about all. It's about
It's the
money.
opposite.
It's about money and world fame. Yeah?
Yeah, right.
It's Porsche and all the stuff. So everybody says, "Oh yeah, that's great." Yeah, that's just status symbol. Yeah.
So, which Lord are we speaking of?
Which Lord are we speaking of? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're speaking about the flower power of Janis Joplin, of course.
Oh, gee. Very
Yeah,
troubled soul.
What do you expect of somebody who died from drug abuse?
Yeah.
She was even doing commercials for alcohol, so what do you expect? That was also a different time, of course, yeah. But just back to the script, yeah, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Speaking of the Bible,
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Very good, Michael.
So back to the script. If you consider once again his definitely chief aim about getting 10 million US dollar in his possession by 1980, yeah, we can also quote from the New Testament, from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verse 5 ongoing, with the deception that the devil even tried to tempt Jesus Christ. And there you see whom is all that worldly fame, possession, money, riches, and all the stuff belonging to in this world. Please, Brad.
Yes, and the devil taking him up unto an high mountain showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. You know, I would just want to stop and make a quick comment here for a minute. The devil taking him up to a high mountain showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. The mountain represents power. It represents kingdoms. It represents the world government. Okay? Let's just think about that for a second, because that's what the Bible is showing us here. Okay, and the devil taking him up to a high mountain showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, all this power I will give thee, and the glory of them. So to Satan, this is a very tempting thing. To him, this is the height of his abilities. For that is delivered unto me, and whomsoever I will give it. Remember, because he was thrown down from heaven with the tail, which was all that was following him, along with him. All of those angels came down here, and they're here. Okay? So, for that is delivered unto me, Satan speaking to Jesus, and whomsoever I will give it. If thou wilt worship me, all shall be thine. And Jesus answered and said to him, get behind me, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. I just don't get it, Michael. These people that run this world just don't get it. And you just pointed it out, 2 Corinthians 4:4.
Yeah, and you see that you can also exchange mammon with the devil.
Yes, yes. It's interchangeable. It's who you worship. It's who you obey.
Yeah.
That's your Lord. You obey Mammon, then you follow the Satan and his tail that fell from heaven.
Yes.
That's who you follow. You're proud of that, eh? Good luck with that. It's time to repent.
Brce Lee left this world at the age of 32. If you really think, and I was 15 or 16, I was fascinated with that movies. If you really think that he's a role model, would you like to leave this world at the age of 32? Having a widow and 2 children who will then be raised without a father. Is that your goal? In exchange for world fame? So what does the world fame of Bruce Lee serve him today? It's just vain deceit. How much more is really the love of a wife, of a housewife, and his own children, how much more is it worth than world fame? How much more is it worth and can be made up with money to see your children growing up? What you gonna do with 10 million bucks if you are then maybe been crippled? You cannot walk or you cannot see. You see, this striving to money, I don't get it. I don't get it. Money does not make you happy. The opposite is the truth. You will have false friends.
Yeah.
You will have a different time in for having taxations and all the alike. All the people who are very rich, and I know people who have $10 million, they are constantly busy in making more money. So it is just a never-ending story then. And that's the saddest part in it. The more interesting part maybe is when we go into the real history and then we sort things out. But it's just his definite chief aim to become a superstar in the footprints of Satan as the little dragon. And he was being called little devil also when he was young, because he could not sit still, and he has also was in street fights and all these things. Yeah, but I'm not judging anybody. I just want to use that example of Bruce Lee, that you really see that you can sort the things out even with the Bible, and that's no big deal. That's no big deal. And it's much more interesting than the story of this man. It is much more interesting to go into the backgrounds of it all. So the heritage. What about the Chinese people? What about the Hong Kong citizens? What about the British occupation? What about everything? What does it have to do with the life and also especially with the death of Bruce Lee? Because that remains a certain mystery to the majority of people, because the majority of people really think that he died about taking one aspirin for headache. That's the official story. He died of an allergic reaction to one aspirin, or equagesic, which is a compound medicine together with meprobamate. But that's not the issue here. That would be maybe an issue later on. But you see, for just a short amount of time to have world fame and to be a household name, to have a Mercedes-Benz, I think that the majority of people, and they can be the biggest fans, they would rather have a loving housewife and see children growing up. At least, Brett, I hope that the majority of people will think the same way. So to sum it up, I have inserted here a short video of some minutes that you really have a feeling for China. And now we're in Macau. Yeah, so that is opposite of or west of Hong Kong, because we will soon approach a special place of worship for Mr. Lee. And so that you really get a scenario, that you really see that we are talking about here of life in big cities or suburbias, where I do not think that somebody who has been raised on the countryside would like to exchange living here in these dense areas with all the noise and pollution and all the stuff.
This whole park is dedicated to Bruce Lee. And this is the tallest.
So the question arises, what's the background of Bruce Lee? Why all these Kung Fu mania, all this Bruceploitation and all that stuff? Why did it emerge? It has so many backgrounds. It will be so interesting because step by step China has been opening towards the West, and Chinese habits are more common here in the Western Hemisphere and all the stuff. And now Karate Jesse is asking Steven Seagal, who is an Aikido practitioner, and he's really good in Aikido, but of course he has also an ego problem. Jesse asks here Steven Seagal, why do they put Bruce Lee on such a high pedestal? Steven says, quite frankly and quite honest, he says, people love to have a hero, they love to have this mythical. Yeah, and that's it actually. And the Bible warns us of having some idols or worshipping images, Brett.
Mm-hmm. 1 John 5:21, little children, keep yourselves from idols. Amen.
Yeah, and I found at the end of this short trailer or teaser here, I found a very interesting quote of somebody who was answering towards the Bruce Lee video. You dare criticize Bruce Lee? Prepare for the wrath of his legions of fanboys. They have already wrecked the dislike button and the comments belong to them. And somebody answered and said, yes, I know. He's Kung Fu Jesus. And if you think that's an exaggeration, I have some image for you. This is a sculpture of an 18 meter 666 height of Bruce Lee. Yeah?
6 plus 6 plus 6, yeah.
6 plus 6 plus 6. And there are many, many more things to comment. We will stop it from there because where is that displayed? It is just unbelievable because it's another reminiscence to the Bible because it's in Bruce Lee's paradise in Macau. Yeah, that's Bruce Lee's paradise. It's nothing more and nothing less. Yeah, that's Bruce Lee's paradise. In late Old English, the Garden of Eden.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and you will face paradise at least 3 times in the Bible. Paradise. Yeah, would you care to read that, Luke 23, Brett?
Sure. And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise.
Yes. So I think the commentator is spot on when he says Bruce Lee is Kung Fu Jesus, because he also has his own paradise. He can take you to paradise. So I think that's more than enough for a teaser now. That we will go into the history, we will go into China, we will go into so many things, and we will try to present connections to the Bible where you really see that it's absolutely explainable by the use of the Bible. Although the majority of people into Bruce Lee have no access to the Bible, and I know that there are some practitioners and some trainers who are, and we will talk about that later. So that is the first session of Satanic Media Agenda Exposed. Bruce Lee, session 1. Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to next time. Thanks also to my beloved brother Brett, whose contributions are already and every time welcome. And thanks for having me. And sorry, I'm no native English speaker, so please forgive me my small mistakes and the pauses that I need to translate some things in my mind. Hope to see you next time, and Maranatha.
Yeah, Michael, it's amazing how far you've come with your English. You've really, really came a long way in just a few years. So wonderful to have you back, and God willing, we'll be back again. See you then. Maranatha.